What's up, everybody? Sorry about not making a video last week. I got real busy with stuff around here. Let's get going. So the contest that I'll be running is to make a commander deck using a very weird commander. Just pick a random commander for me for the deck and make a commander deck. If you don't know how to make a commander deck, you have to pick a legendary creature. And then the colors of that creature are the only colors that any of the spells or anything in the deck can be. The land base can only be the color of your general, and there can only be one of every non-basic land card in there. So, like, there can only be one Quicksilver Elemental, for example. So, that's the basics of that. I'll run it till June 25th. Send me PM. So yeah, the deck list that I like the best, the one that I think is the most creative, I will send out these 3 cards to. So that ends June 25th. Other things that have been happening, for me, not really much. Been playing a little bit of cards. I built a new EDH deck that's black and red. I got a few new cards for it, so I'm trying to fine-tune that, and when I get done with it, I'll probably show a deck tech of it. It's using Rakdos the Defiler as the general. I'm probably going to switch it to Sebo Sabak, or however you say it, just because I like it a lot better. Other new things that came out, there's all the Commander spoilers are up. My personal favorite one so far is Animar. He is pretty good. Animar and Skullbriar, which I've already talked about, are my 2 favorites so far. And I think that Gave, I think his name is, Guru of Spores, is going to be pretty powerful with stuff like doubling season, and just he's a combat trick on his own, which is neat. That's what I've seen with it. And the fact that you can even move it to other people's stuff is kind of neat. You can just be like, okay, I'll move a counter over here. I'm going to dive into some spoilers for Commander. There's a common that came out that's called Soul Snare, which I think is really neat. It's a kind of like the seals, like the Seal of Doom and stuff, except that you have to pay. It's 1 white to play it. It's enchantment, and it says 1 white, sacrifice Soul Snare, exile target creature that's attacking you or a planeswalker you control. I think that's kind of neat. It's kind of a deterrence. You play it, and it'll change people's attack strategy if they don't want that thing to die. So I think that's pretty cool. Another one that came out was Flusterstorm. Flusterstorm is pretty neat. For 1 blue, instant, counter target instant sorcery spell unless its controller pays 1, and it has Storm. So this pretty much can hose out Storm players in EDH, or players that just go off with these dumb broken combos. Like the Storm Bitter Ordeal deck, it could just shut that off if they don't have the mana to pay for it. That's kind of neat. And the new keyword for the Commander stuff, Joined Forces, I think is a really, really neat mechanic, to where starting with you start paying mana, and then each other player pays X mana, and then each player does something, which is the total amount of mana that everybody paid together. It's like if I paid 5 and like my friend over here paid 2, then everybody would get 7 things to do. Mind's Aglow is the blue one, and I like this one a lot because it says starting with you, each player may pay any amount of mana. Each player then draws X cards, where X is the total of mana paid. People are going to want to pay this because they're going to be able to draw cards out of it. Even if you only invest 2, like say you invest 2 mana into it, somebody else is going to also try to invest some mana into it. I also think that starting with you is kind of difficult, because if you pay too much mana, like if you pay the 1 blue and then you pay 5, nobody else will want to invest into it, because they'll be like, okay, cool, I get to draw 5 cards from you, thanks. And another new cycle of cards is the Vows, like Vow of Flight, Vow of Malice, Vow of Vow of Wilderness. These are all enchantment auras that go on creatures, and like Vow of Wilderness says, enchant creature, it gets +3/+3 and trample, and it cannot attack a planeswalker you control or you. So it can be used as a, like, okay, I helped your guy, now you can't attack me with it, so attack something else. Or it can also just be used on your own guys, which is pretty awesome. I think Chaos Warp is a pretty cool combat trick. Just being able to I think Chaos Warp is a pretty good combat trick, just being able to pay 3, and then you take a permanent that somebody owns, shuffle it back into their library, and then they reveal a top card of their library, and if it's a permanent, they put it into the battlefield. So like if they attack with their general, and that's going to be lethal, you can be like Chaos Warp, general gets shuffled back into their library, flip over a card, oh, it's a land. Cool. And, that saves you. I really like that. Stranglehold is an amazing card. For 3 and a red, your opponents can't search libraries. If an opponent would begin an extra turn, that player skips that turn instead. It shuts off so many decks in EDH. I know a deck around our play area that people just really don't like playing against just because he takes so many turns. Is a Jorah deck where he suspends so many turn-taking cards, and then he just takes lots and lots of turns, and then other things that he suspends come into play with that, and it just gets ridiculous. Something like this stops it completely in its tracks, and there's another player that plays Sharoom that will completely stop Sharoom because they can't search library. If it will stop Sharoom's Bitter Ordeal combo because players can't search libraries. Your opponent can't search libraries, which is just ridiculous because that still allows you to do it, and it still allows you to begin to take extra turns. I also see this card being played in all the Jorah decks, even just as a counteractive to that. Hydra Omnivore is kind of interesting. For 4 and 2 green, it's a creature Hydra. Whenever Hydra Omnivore deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. So that takes out the singling out of somebody, that hits everybody pretty much. I like that, and that's the same. It's the exact same way with Ruhan of the Fomori, the one that costs 4 for a 7/7, 1 red, 1 white, 1 blue, legendary creature giant warrior. At the beginning of the combat, on your turn, choose an opponent at random. Ruhama the Fomori attacks that player this combat if able. So he has to attack every turn, and you don't get a pick, so it's just like, roll the dice, I guess I get to attack you. Cool. So then, politics in Commander is the main part of it. Without this, like, Commander would just be boring, pretty much. In Commander, you always take out the person that is doing the best, honestly. You always take out the person that is griefing on somebody else more. You always help weaker players. If you're in a big multiplayer situation, you always try to help out weaker players so they don't get eliminated early and then they just have a bad time. At least, around our play group we do. I guess some people don't, And then there's a couple artifacts. Champion's Helm. It's 3 equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/2, and as long as it's legendary, it has hexproof with an equip for 1, which is kind of neat. Homeward Path, which is pretty cool with Zedru the Great-Hearted. Homeward Path says, it's a land, tap, add 1 mana to your mana pool, and then tap it. Each player gains control of all creatures he or she owns. So with Zedru the Great-Hearted is another main general for political puppets, I believe is the deck. It's a legendary creature, Minotaur Monk. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain X life, draw X cards, where X is the number of permanents you own that your opponent controls. And then it has red, white, blue, target opponent gains control of permanent you control. So with Zedru, basically, if they're going to start an attack phase or something, and they have some of your creatures and they're going to attack with them, just Homeward Path them back to your side of the field. And then at the end of turn, you can just give them back to them and then draw cards on your turn. So there's a lot more spoilers and stuff, but I just went through some of the ones that are my favorite, personally. I went through a couple of them. Animar I didn't go through, which I said was my favorite general that I'm going to try to be using in the near future. Animar Soul of Elements is red, blue, green. 1 red, 1 blue, 1 green to play for a 1/1. Protection from white and from black. Whenever you cast a creature spell, put a 1/1 counter on Animar, Soul of Elements. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each +1 counter on Animar. I think that guy is just nuts. I think this guy's amazing because you play with an array of creatures with a curve. You start playing really cheap creatures, early game with Animar on the field. He gets built up. You can proliferate crap onto him. You can make him bigger there's like Dragon Blood, where it puts a 1/1 counter on something for 4 mana. Never good anywhere else. Good in Commander, with Animar anyways. And then all your stuff that you cast later will be 1 less to cast. So that makes 1 colorless less to cast. So that makes playing big dumb artifact creatures super cheap. Blightsteel Colossus, in the right situations, he can cost 2 mana, So I think Animar is going to be a lot of fun. So be looking for me. I'm going to be busting probably 2 decks of the Commander series when it comes out. And it comes out next week. So I will put up a video of me unboxing probably 2 Commander decks. I'm going to get the one with Animar, and I'm not sure what the other one I'm going to get yet is, but I'm going to get probably 2 of them. So look for that. Don't forget to do the contest. Check that out. I also plan on playing in the YouTube Community Cup, hosted by Mr. Lu Bufu. If you don't know who that is, go ahead and check him out. I'll put a link to his channel right here in the bottom bar. He's gonna hold a Community Cup from people on YouTube to play against each other. And then what he's gonna do is he's gonna post up who plays who. And then everybody will have a week from the day he posts that stuff to play the other person, and it's a double elimination. It sounds really fun, And he's forking out prizes on his own. He's giving away, I think it's 3 packs for first place, 2 packs for second place, 1 pack for third place. And who knows if we get enough people into this, if we get like 25 or more, I think Mr. MTG82 guy is going to throw in a couple extra stuff for the first place winner, and I'm going to say if we get like 25 or more, like he said, I'll even throw in some stuff too. I'll throw in some stuff for people to get this going, because I feel like this is actually a kind of a neat thing for people that for the Magic community on YouTube. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe.